Welcome back to Squid Strengths. In part 2, we are now playing back the game tape of the timeline where we lived. We're now going to listen to the Purple Squad debate about the games that we didn't get to play. But before we roll the tape, let's define the lens that we're using. In strengths language, we don't say a talent is good or bad. Really, a talent is neutral. Instead, we look at how a strength is being used in its shine or in its shadow. Shine is when the strength is being applied productively and effectively, that it's the right tool for the right job with the right level of impact. Shadow happens when the volume of a strength is either too high or too low. So a commander at the volume 5 can be a leader, but at 10, they could be a dictator. Ryan, how does this concept of volume control map to the hardware of mind, body, flow?
Yeah, it maps out perfectly. In the nervous system, volume is the level of activation. So when you're on that level 10, you're in that fight or flight mode. When you're on that 0 level, you're actually in that freeze mode and disconnect. So the mind body flow method, it's really not about just staying calm all the time. It's getting access to that knob. So you could turn it up when life demands it, or turn it back down when you need to regulate your nervous system.
Exactly. So now let's listen into the tape and hear what the Purple Squad thinks what would happen when the pressure breaks and we continue on. First up, the Pentathlon. 5 players, legs tied together, racing through mini games. In this clip, we're going to listen to the anxiety about the 50-50 split. Pay close attention to Corey. He doesn't offer false hope. He offers stability.
I guess we'll just even start with the next game that would have been presented. We have this core group that we're riding with. We have 30 to 40 that we feel good about. Say we're all probably matching up with each other. Now you go into a room and then bam, 5 and 5, you're split playing the pentathlon. How do you guys feel you would have done with this? And how do you think everything would have shifted for us as we're now going against each other? Do you think we would have had a more competitive drive, or it's just kind of, hey, we're going to do our best at what we can do. Let's not worry about them?
I think for the pentathlon, we still would have been fine because at the end of the day, the pentathlon was another coin flip game where they had to cut the cast again. And so I think I would have been pretty direct of like, this still is not us versus us. Yes, some of us are going home, but there's still no need for it to be me versus you. We know that the cast is getting cut in half. We've just got to do it and do our best. And again, coin flip, whoever stays, stays, whoever goes, goes. It is what it is for this game also.
True. If you guys could pick, like, okay, since we're on the hypotheticals, right? If you guys could pick 5, who would you guys pick? Yeah.
And I want you to list them in order.
Well,
from 1 to 5.
You pissed at me.
But that is an interesting question because Mingle presents itself very quickly in a rapid pace. If the number 5 gets called out, it does present itself at one form in Mingle.
But interestingly enough, Hannah, I know, said she had been practicing like the dice game. I have a very steady hand, so House of Cards would have been my game. I think we had a good idea going in what our talents were, what our strengths were. So I would have grabbed people that had already kind of pegged as, this is my weakness. I'm going to take the person that can pick up my strength there.
Larry wants to hear everyone's.
Yeah, I want fucking names, numbers, okay?
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I mean, did you feel the shift? You know, the moment the group started spinning out about the split, the nervous system took over, and it was a threat response. Corey didn't just try to fix it, he didn't overtalk it, he simply said, it is what it is. Biologically, he became the external regulator. So we're not, just a closed system, we're an open loop. Our nervous system is constantly reading one another, and with his tone, his cadence, his presence there, the group gave something stable to kind of latch onto. You could feel the collective heart rate actually come down when we have that calmity. And because safety had already, been established in the dorms, being physically tied together, didn't recognize as danger. It was more of a coordination at that point. So in that moment, regulation mattered more than the strategy of it all. And in the 6-legged race, synchronicity is everything. You weren't just individuals anymore. You're playing together. You move to a single organism.
And looking at the high 5 domains, this works because of balance. Corey brings the commander from the motivating domain to set the pace. But you cannot motivate a six-legged race, you have to sync it up. This is where Henry comes in. Henry has the Peacekeeper strength, which sits in the feeling domain. While Corey pushes forward, Henry's Peacekeeper acts as a shock absorber, smoothing out physical friction. The shine here is the commander providing direction and the Peacekeeper providing stability. Okay, next is catch. If you drop the ball, you go home, the thrower goes home. This clip is a masterclass in the debate between masking versus shining. You'll hear somebody suggest that we're bringing up something that sounds like the Mark strategy. Another person faking a disease to look weak. Now the group laughs, but then we listen to Larry and he rejects the idea of being weak and pivots to pure performance.
We got to talk about catch first. Do we think we're going to stay in the same group? Like, would we try to be in the same curler, or would we have? You think we would split off?
I would have recommended splitting.
I would have advocated for us to stay the same.
They
always want to stay the same. They always try to break you apart. Yeah. At the moment you don't know, you always want to be strategically apart because you never know when they're going to do it.
I think you know somewhere in you of like, we're all not making it to the end. One person wins. So we have statistically more of a chance for us as a whole to have bigger numbers move forward the more we stay together. Some are losing. Like, it's part of the game. Some are going home.
True.
But as a whole, we can move ourselves as a group further by all staying together.
Yeah, Henry, like the marbles always makes me so nervous because they know exactly what they're doing when they put two people together. So I always would say split up. When you can split up, split up. I don't know.
Well, we'll get to marbles. I have a thought on if we ended up in marbles, but for catch, actually the analysis that I did, Henry has chameleon, which means like he can mold, he can shape to what he needs to. And Corey's our big strategist commander. So my analysis, Henry can adapt physically and mentally, and Corey is always calculating the risk. So perhaps Corey would have been the commander is like, okay, you need to be here. You need to be here. Like, because there were 4 sets of dots, right?
And so I also thought with catch, like one of the things that I thought was interesting about it was I thought both strategies were right for the actual catch game. Like, you either needed your weakest players at the back and hoping the ball wasn't going to get to them, or you needed them at the front to push them through to the next round to give your more skilled people harder. Like, I thought both strategies were right.
What about the strategy of creating that you have some disease that you can't like catch a ball over here?
I mean, do it for the bit, I guess.
Yeah, be careful. No Mark strategies. No Mark strategy. Larry's strategy. I don't know what Larry's strategy would have been.
I juggle. I'm a juggler. Okay. People don't know this. My hand-eye coordination is like 10 out of 10. Okay. All right. You could have put me fucking next to. You could have put me between Grandma and Mark, and they'd have both fucking had the ball in their hand, bro. It would have been.
I would have told everyone I can't throw for the life of me, so put me in the front or put me on. I just can't throw.
Yeah, but you're taller.
That's true. I just can't.
But also, I think like too, like you asked the question about what would you do with girl who said she had a disease and couldn't catch. That's one of the things you can't factor in when you're trying to play all this out. And again, this goes back to Larry a little bit. You can't factor in how people are going to shift and change when the camera's on and what persona they're trying to do, what bit they're trying to play. Larry's personality went up a lot, and it was something I was not prepared for. You can't calculate what Ryan has in his head of this bit he's trying to play, this role he's trying to play, and how that's going to factor into what should be a good strategy. But if he decides to go, no, I'm going to be the guy that can't catch, you just don't know that.
Yeah, it was an interesting dynamic that some people did shift their energy and who they were when they enter the games. That's what a lot of the games are. You have to start shifting because they're going to be throwing so many different elements to you. And I remember at one point, someone asked me like, hey, what do you do for your job? And I said, I'm in sales. He's like, oh, so you like to manipulate people. And he said that straight to me out loud. I was like, whoa, I got to now actually reframe how I'm presenting myself to even shape your own projection of what you're doing so people are liking you and don't see you as this threat. It's such an interesting dynamic, and it's a good point.
Yeah, so this debate isn't just intellectual, it's biological as well, and it's safety signaling. So faking a disease you had someone do, it's the nervous system saying, hey, look, I'm not a threat. It's a submit response and an attempt to reduce the danger by shrinking and becoming harmless. But Larry, on the other hand, has a different angle at it. His system won't go there. His nervous system rejects that submission, and he stays in that mobilization where he's, instead of hiding, he's out there channeling his adrenaline. And, he claims he's a juggler, which I would love to see. And he shines. For him, safety doesn't come from just like disappearing and shrinking. It comes from that dominance.
This is a classic volume control moment. Larry is a self-believer. If he tried to fake being weak, he would be turning the volume down on his core talent. That creates internal friction. Larry's shine is at volume 10. Big, bold confidence. By owning that I'm a juggler, he aligns his strategy with his biology. You can't play a shadow game with shine energy. Alright, now let's move on to Mingle, the game that breaks up the tribe. Listen in on the tension here. Jane, our empathizer, suggests she would sacrifice herself to save the team. But listen to the visceral reaction from the commanders, Corey and Larry. They don't just disagree. They aggressively reject her self-sacrifice.
Let's talk about the next game, segueing into Mingle, where, okay, you guys are coming in as a pair, but nobody knows it. I mean, there might be moments where like, no, I'm not moving. I'm staying with him. Like, you think there might have been a little exposure there? Would you guys like ever have, if like it like really like the scenario made it that way?
Well, in my analysis, actually, Mr. Chameleon here, it says that he has the highest likelihood of surviving because he would find his own pathway. And I actually wouldn't be surprised. So I think we had to be very adaptable if and when we got to Mingle. I was hoping we have a core 12 because then you can make a permutation of almost every number or get stragglers. Like literally Vanessa was saved because someone yelled, we need one more. You have to be very literally quick on your feet. And he's definitely quick on his feet. One of the things, Mr. Catalyst.
If our plan didn't go as planned, I'll be 1, 2, 3. I'm doing something else. I wouldn't even think about it.
So that's actually where the big planners like Corey, I think you're the type of person that would look at the numbers and looked at, well, shoot, what do I do? Because now all the numbers are fucked up.
I would have been the person at the door letting our people in.
Yep.
You're Isaiah. Yeah. Isaiah was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sorry for you, Viking.
Yeah.
That's what I see Corey as. Do you think our friendships would have been broken there? Or you think we would actually benefited and then really grown from there as a team? Because, I mean, everyone talks about how they wanted to play Mingle, but you see them out there and they're like, I regret this decision right now because it happened so quick that all your connections are just thrown out there then of who you're riding with when there's 4 or 5 and there's no looking back at that point.
I wonder, too, when the clock is ticking down, it's something else going on in your brain. It's not as simple as I can figure this out. It's just get in a room. I wonder if you stayed out of a room and I stayed in a room. I feel like that's just happenstance. I don't feel like there was many like personal, this is my time to show my allegiance or not show my allegiance. It's just more, what's going on? Get in a room. Like,
is that how you would cope with killing all of us? You'd be like, fuck, man, it's happenstance. Like looking through the people, you're like, it's happenstance, dude.
It's different if you physically throw someone out of your room. That's different. But like,
would you throw someone out of the room to make room for us? That's
Corey
the question.
Corey would have.
Okay.
For sure.
Right.
This is where like personality comes out because like the empath in me, I would have been one of those people that's just said, I'll sacrifice myself. I think I would have. And
I don't know, Jane.
You would have been punching people.
No, Jane, you're emotional, but I think you have more fight in you than you think you do. I really do think that.
It depends. And I think it's a depends.
Yeah.
It's not that you don't have fight, just like August had fight. But at the end, he's like, Faith's in this room. Like, there's people in this room that deserve to stay, and I'm okay. So it's a quick decision. I think your empathizer will at least struggle. We'll put it that way. Whereas Corey and Larry, I don't think there's any struggle. I don't.
Yeah, there would be. Honestly, that's like everything that I watched. Like, there would never be a time where I would be like, okay, guys, go on without me. Like, no, man, fuck that, dude. Like, I'll be like, tap you on the forehead and turn around and run in the room, shut the door.
I wouldn't leave a room, but if it were like me and somebody else, I'd probably say go. I don't know. I really don't know. You
I
don't know
don't know.
until you're in it.
True.
I think one of the things I told Jane is like one of the reasons she was not my number one as well. Here's my more reasoning was I felt like our strengths were too similar. Like Jane was such like a good, loyal soldier from the get-go that I feel like we didn't complement each other enough. I needed someone that was going to be more social and more out there, whereas Jane was sort of lockstep with me of you, get out of here. You're in. And so I don't think you would have been, I'll sacrifice myself while somebody else goes in. You would have been throwing bows.
Well, it is an interesting, because I did get worried even like with you, Corey, at one point when you were like, no, fuck that. I'm not working with them. Fuck that. I'm not working with them. I was like, shit, that could really, that could backfire at one point.
Yes, bro. It scared me.
I was very worried about that at one point. But at the same time, it was like, I understood the mentality and was so aligned with what you were saying. It was hard to split that of the connection I had versus the let's think a couple steps ahead of the strategy on it. It was hard to balance that, but I was worried for a little bit with that.
Yeah, that was one thing at the very beginning too. Anytime I felt like I was like trying to talk or be like overly social, Corey was like, no, get over here. And that's kind of why I left for a little bit too, because I see where that would work really well too. But kind of the strategy more that I had was I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to be authentic. I'm going to talk to everybody and hopefully everybody sees enough good in me that they would be willing to pick me over somebody that they didn't.
My calculation though, it's very different if you're playing a game with 15 people. My calculation with 456 people, there's simply not enough time to pretend like you care about everybody. It's not there. And so I need my X amount of people, however many that is, to know that I'm with them. And then the cards fall where they fall. And if it ends up being me and somebody I told to get out of here, well, that's crap out of luck on me. But at least like my 10 people know beyond the shadow of a doubt that, I'm with them. Again, different game if it's smaller numbers, but with 456, there's simply not enough time to work all those connections when half the cast is going home in 5 hours.
True. It's also people make split second decisions. It feels like in a time where people are like, we don't know anybody. If we need someone to go with us, right? They're going to pick somebody that left some sort of impression on them too, right? So I was like, at least if I get out here and I'm funny and I talk to people, even though these people don't know me, they might see something in me that they like that would force them into a situation that could technically benefit. You know what I mean? Like,
except for the time that Larry, you told me I was your number one. Then you told Corey.
And then told me the same thing 8 seconds later. Yeah.
And I was like, it was not 8 seconds later.
Ready, and Larry like pulls me aside. He's like, hey, I just want to make sure you and I are number ones, right? And I was like, sure.
Well.
Yeah. And I'm like, he told me the same thing.
You guys weren't supposed to talk about that. That was the secret between all of you as individuals.
Mingle is one big survival trigger. So the herd is really calling itself. Jane's response is a telling one. For her nervous system, the pain of rejecting a friend registers the same way it does for physical pain. Connection is that survival. Rupture of it, it's a threat. So her system made a choice, or hypothetically, not to hurt the tribe, but to leave it. So she sacrifices herself to preserve belonging and that connection. It is a safety strategy, but in this environment, no longer serves her, especially in a game like Mingle.
This is the shadow of Empathizer. In its shine, empathy builds bonds. But in the shadow, it lacks boundaries. Jane is turning up the volume so high on others' feelings that she mutes her own survival instinct. Contrast that with Corey. His winner strength keeps him focused on the objective, survival. He isn't being cruel. He just has his volume dial set to goal rather than people. All right, well, in season 2, the final Mingle pairs went straight into marbles. Now, usually this is a tearjerker, but listening to the squad discuss Perla and Jeffrey's strategy, we're not even talking about the heartbreak. We're talking about ROI. Listen to Corey admire their ability to detach from emotion and look at the math.
Well, one way or another, the secret would have came out of who your number one was with, and that leads into marbles. So, you have interesting dynamics of, do you want to show those cards? You got Henry and Bryant entering in, but nobody knows that. Do they actually team up together? At that point, back into the hypotheticals, Obviously, I probably would have been matched up with Hannah, and I don't know the hypothetical.
You'd have fucking smoked her, dude.
I don't know the hypotheticals of what I would have done. I don't know. It's such a hard thing. At one point, I was, though, like, am I going to sacrifice my game for her? At one point, I didn't know.
Was production planting something between you and Hannah?
I felt like it. I mean, they knew we were both.
I swear.
Because I asked you right when we were exit door. You're the first people we revealed our secret immediately, like when we were exiting.
We would introduce each other in the games, and I would say, "Hey, I'm Bryant. I'm from Florida," and she would be right next to me, say, "Hey, I'm Hannah from Florida as well." People like assume that we were already.
That's why I asked you.
No,
and you guys, you guys know each other.
All American couple, right there. Come on. It's like you guys did that. It's a reality TV show, All American Couple.
Never knew
right
her.
there.
Never met her at all in my life. I swear to this, and like it was just so fascinating though how quickly you build with someone that they literally removed us to a separate bus, so we entered the game just us two together. So there's a lot more.
Be on purpose.
Yeah, there's a lot more to that. I don't know where I would have stood on marbles. I think at that point, I just look at it as we both agreed to enter this game, and we're going to honor the game that it is and come up collectively with something that we agree on that we're going to play. You know, you just kind of have to do it at that point. But where do you guys stand of, where your marbles play would have been? Henry, let's see. What's your guys' perspective?
It would exactly been what Perla and Jeffrey did, because there's no point in us trying to play a game. Our game was already done. Like, I knew I wanted to get to marbles. And I knew also, like, Mingle was going to be the difference maker, getting to marbles. Once we got to marbles, I knew it was just going to be one of us continuing. Because marbles, one guarantees that one of us continues. If we split it up, we could each lose. So I'd rather guarantee one of us continues. And two, we can assess who has the strongest social relationships. And that's exactly what happened. The winner won primarily because of social relationships. We can talk about those later games afterwards.
Given what you know about us, just the little things you know about us, who do you think would have sacrificed, and then who do you think would have went on?
I don't think that
I know
would
the
have
answer,
sacrificed.
I think Henry would have gone on.
I wonder though, because one of the things that I think was so smart about Perla and Jeffrey was they were able to have a very calculated conversation of who is in a better situation right now. It wasn't who wants to be here more, who thinks they can turn this into something. It was who's in a better spot. And so it wasn't a self-sacrificing conversation. It was a winner mentality.
Who can win?
It paid off.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was who can win from here. And I think that's very, very hard to do when you're that far into the game, to be able to look somebody eye to eye and be like, no, it's not who wants to be here more. It's who can win from here. That's so difficult. Shout out to them for being able to do that.
Yeah.
And I don't know what kind of conversation you all would have had. Would you all have had a let me self-sacrifice for you? Or would you all have had a...
It would be a very similar conversation.
Very similar conversation. We're a calculator. It was for me because it's a game. And so, like, what's the highest probability? What are our circumstances? Here are all the variables. Here are all the facts. And we're just going to, like, put them all together and we're going to make a decision.
It's the same reason why we didn't move to X. So we're like, both of us could have moved to X, or one of us could have moved to X. But we would have been ostracized pretty quickly. So the question is, do we want to keep the advantage knowing, well, we could easily die in O, which we did, or do we have a chance to keep this advantage? And I think it was better for us to have a chance to keep the advantage, for us to use the advantage. Hopefully we have a chance to at marbles. The likelihood is almost there, but it's exactly what the production clearly set up for. And they got it because the winner was in a duo.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true.
Yeah, marbles, this is elite regulation. We call this the pause. Most people in marbles, they're caught in that emotional takeover. It's pure survival mode. So in this state, you can't really think about probabilities. You can only really react at that point. So the pause helps change that. It gives the system just enough space for higher thinking to really flow in and come back online. And those that overcame it, they didn't just get calmer, they got access to that.
This is the thinking domain taking the wheel at its shine. Corey has analyst and strategist. In the shine, these themes allow you to detach from the emotion to see the data. It's not intended to be coldness, it's clarity. They realize that 50% of the team must die, so they use the thinking domain to ensure that death wasn't wasted. Now that's the definition of high performance software. Those who survived marbles now face the test. The hall monitors. Now the hall monitors had a special assignment. Eventually, they would be assigning the pairs for the next game, Slides and Ladders. We're going to start with Larry claiming that he would be the nice hall monitor, but keep listening. He eventually admits exactly how he would use that power. It's a fascinating look at how power reveals our true nature.
Who would have been the hall monitor? And I do think that at least one of us would have been a hall monitor. I do think that that the hall monitor part is extremely important because that was a key defining moment. So I do think one of us would have been a hall monitor, and I would say, we'll just say Isaiah probably would still been there, Kate, and probably instead of Max, if we just hypothetically, let's just say they're all X's, right? But let's just say like we were there instead.
Who do you think would have been the hall?
Larry or
Yeah.
Corey would have
It
tried
would
to
have
be hall
been me,
monitor.
baby.
It would not have been me.
I think Corey would have been the good version to have as the hall monitor, but I don't think he's going to put himself out there to be the hall monitor. Where Larry, I think, would have had a little curiosity.
I'd have been like,
it would have been Larry for sure.
Fucking good guys. Like,
Yeah.
Would have been Larry. And the thing is that I would have loved for Larry to be up there because there would be people that love you like us, and there would be people that are like, who the fuck is this
yeah,
guy?
I would have handled it with grace, okay? All right. I would have shared my bed with every one of us, okay? All right. We'd all had them silk sheets, like.
Would
I
you
feel
have,
like I know Larry
Wait, are you
pretty well
saying
at
we
this
all
point.
all purple squad is gonna like climb in?
Stacked.
Larry's really hard to dislike. Like, I know Larry pretty well at this point. He's very hard to just straight up not
Thank
like.
you.
Yeah.
well, what if you're in a room with him and you're also a hall monitor, and now you have to decide, who's going? You think you guys are liking each other as much, or how do you guys like amicably come up with a way to?
Well, this is actually what Larry, see, hypothetical. You're the hall monitor and you survived that and you actually got to choose. So who, like, would you have paired us together, purple squads together, or what would you have done? Not knowing what the game was, by the way. You just
Did they
pair and order?
Did they?
Correct. The hall monitor is paired and ordered. So you would be the person who chose the pairs, including yourself. So you would choose your pair because you're hall monitor, and you would choose other people's pairs and the order in which they went through the game. Not knowing what the game was.
Yeah, honestly, probably what I would have done. I'm very laissez-faire. I probably would have been like, go ahead and pair up with who you'd like to pair up with.
Now production would make you decide.
Oh my gosh! Well, then I would probably
would you
get
have made pairs together or not knowing the game.
So honestly, the thing is, like, yeah, they would have made me pair people together, but I probably would have at least asked people first too. And if there ends up being one or two people that aren't okay with it, that's okay as long as everybody else is fucking okay with it, because the odds are still in my favor. Like,
So majority rules.
True. Unless there's somebody that everybody fucking doesn't like, you know what I mean? Like, if there's like a group where everybody doesn't like him, I'd be like, yeah, put those fuckers together. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is that you would have let that person off, and that person gets a pass to the next game.
True.
So anytime they give you an advantage like a hall monitor, it comes with the big disadvantage too that you just don't see at the time. So that's why I probably would have been like with Corey, where I want to do this, I can do this, but I was trying to play low and kind of hide, even though it is further along in the game at that point. I don't think I'm volunteering.
Yeah, Larry shifts a little bit here. Now that he becomes that resource holder, biologically he feels safe. So his social engagement starts to turn on, and he wants to be nice. He wants to ask for permission. But underneath, you can kind of see it. His survival drive is still active, and, he's smiling, but he's also plotting beneath it all.
This is the shadow of the catalyst. A catalyst usually sparks action for the group, but here, Larry is using that influence to manipulate the outcome. He turns the volume of Nice Guy up to 10 to mask that he's rigging the game for his friends. It's the motivating domain used for exclusion rather than inclusion. Now, the gameplay for slides and ladders. The question is, do you help your friends up the ladder, even if it hurts your own odds? Listen to the Purple Squad discuss stacking the game. They admit they would help each other to get to the top, even if it meant hurting the others. But listen closely to the logic. Helping you helps me.
After Larry then picks our teams or just allows us to fall in line where we want to be after asking us, how do you think the game of slides and ladders would have been for if we had, let's just say, 6, 8 of us through where we have 4 pairings? You think we're like really going
been
us for
stacked.
them mentality of like, we're like, no,
Yes,
we're helping
100%. We would help each other. We would help each other go to the top and see whoever gets the
100%.
Mhm.
Because every twist had an opportunity to really screw someone over or help somebody. So, and it obviously depends on the context of the twist. So I think we would absolutely, I think at that point, our loyalty would have been tested, and I think we would have passed the test among us. The thing we can't control are the slides. So we can't control, like when you get the slides, well, it's 50-50 at that point.
Mhm.
But you are putting
I hated when Zoe said though, like, oh, Perla said she's feeling right. I'm going to go right. See, that's when I say, no, I'm going with my intuition. I don't let somebody else's intuition dictate what I'm doing. I hated when she did that.
I agree. I think she had a little bit of some like manipulation tools that she used throughout the game that weren't fully like exposed, but you got to give it to her. That's the game, that's the game,
won.
and that she is the winner because of little things like that.
Right, we're gonna get Perla on at some point, right? We're gonna have to do the full winner's edit analysis first of all.
I think that you're helping a higher percentage of people when you're hurting the people that you're not working with in that game. If I take the advantage to move Ryan up, I'm helping Ryan. If I take the disadvantage to move somebody we're not working with down, I'm helping more of our group.
Everybody.
Move closer up. So even though it puts your cards on the table more, I think because you're helping a higher percentage, you have to try to get the other people away from the end game.
Well, I think there's an interesting element of like, if I'm not going to win, if one of you guys won, like that is still such a huge win in my eyes. And like, I really I felt that. It wasn't just like a little connection that we had. I truly felt that if one of you guys won, that would have been such a cool experience, even for me. Like, I was definitely would have been helping as many of the purple teams. I wouldn't have tried to really like say like, hey, they're my number 1, 2. It would have been as a whole of like, if this purple one's slacking back here, hey, let's try to maybe help them out. Like they're about to get like eliminated here. Let's maybe look out for them. So I think there would have been a lot of interesting dynamics with that. But ultimately, you got to also just play what's given to you. You have no idea what's about to be had at the slides and ladders. So it's an interesting concept.
Yeah, I mean, this is beautiful. How they talk about if one person won, it's a huge win even for me. I know I felt that. Biologically, we are capable of this shared joy. And we actually do have a mirror neurons that allow us to actually experience this victory of one of our members, our tribe, as if it were one of our own. You just have to kind of remove and suppress some of that ego a little bit. But this does create that biological incentive to be altruistic for the group, like we see here. And that feeling of helping you literally makes me feel good as well, and it's a win-win.
This is those relator strengths in action. The relator tightens the circle. But notice the trade-off. To keep the purple squad together, they have to move somebody we're not working with down. The shine of loyalty always casts a shadow of exclusion. You cannot be loyal to everyone. As they say, a friend to all is a friend to none. They decided that the morality of the squad was more important than the morality of the game. But does that extend to the circle of trust? Well, blindfolds on, trust is tested. The group debates, do you stay loyal to the purple squad till the very end? Or do you cut them? Let's listen in on the strategy.
But moving forward in the games, one of the biggest ones where I think it would be very, very interesting that I know I have ran this in my mind of what would I have done in the scenario, because it's Circle of Trust. And Circle of Trust, there's such an interesting element to it. To save my ass, put this box on someone's table that I am close to, because they're not going to expect it and call my name out. That is such an interesting one. I don't know, but what if we have 6 other purple people that are sitting in this circle? Do you then say, well, okay, they're not like my number 1, but we are good and they know we're good. Do I do it like go down the pecking order and then put it, or what do you do in that standpoint when it comes to circle
If there's
of
a
trust?
lot of people on the purple team, I think it is okay and everyone will understand that you did it. If there's a lot of us on there. If there's like 2 or 3, I'm protecting with loyalty. If it's like more than that, it's fair game. I wouldn't feel offended if someone did that to me because I would have done that in that same scenario if you had to do that. If this is a game of probability of what was going to happen, because the other people who know that you guys are a gang, like together, they're going to try to see that, it's not us. They're going to have a higher probability if we don't choose these. So you really got to like switch up the game so they won't know what the strategy is going to be.
That's why Faith's elimination was the hardest. You didn't see that Steven and Faith were very close friends. Faith said that Steven reminded her of the folks at home from Oregon. So they were actually much closer that the edit did not show.
Really?
Purposefully to then make that moment. So that's why when Steven said, I wouldn't do that to you, Faith is pretty.
Yeah.
Took his word.
And
I like both of them a lot.
I don't think Circle of Trust makes good TV, but I think it does make a good game for the participants, because that's the game. That's the game where if you're going to break the loyalty, this is the one.
Yeah.
And so it's a very interesting situation to be put in from a player's perspective. Again, I don't think it's great television, but from a player's perspective, this is the game I have to choose. Am I going to increase my probability by putting it on Ryan because I know he's not going to think I did it? Or am I going to eliminate, if I'm not going to put it on any of my people, I'm cutting out half the group that now they think it's not me. And so my probability is going down a ton. So I think it's a super interesting game from a player standpoint, because it's the one where you've got to decide, how am I really going to play from this point forward?
Yeah, that was the one I was most prepared for real. I think that I probably would have been okay with. Well, honestly, going into
Here,
it, was
you,
like,
Corey.
That's where he's cutting us
already
right
did.
there.
no, not in a sense of placing the box. Okay, I'm probably like an average, below average box placer. Okay, but judging who has placed my box, I think I would have excelled at. Like I did. I read a bunch of books on body language prior to coming to London for filming. That was like the one thing where I was like, I'm really going to try and hone in on this. It's not something that I feel like I've always been really good at reading social cues and reading the room and reading how people are feeling. I feel like that's a reason why people are so open with me. But also at the same time, too, a lot of the time I'm just like, I feel like I rely too much on the things that people say, right? So I felt like going into this, if there was something that I needed to work on, it was going to be not just listening to what people say, but reading how they are saying it, right? So I really tried to focus on learning as much about body language as possible. I think, honestly, if you think about Steven as a player, right, a lot of people gave Steven a lot of flack because he was a poker player or whatever, but I really liked Steven. I thought he did a really good job. At the end of the day, yeah, a lot of us were playing for something a lot bigger, but also at the same time, it's a game, right? And in the show, there are people that, yeah, they've made millions of dollars, but that doesn't mean that you have millions of dollars right now, right? But I think the thing that carried Steven so far in the game, and I mean, he utilized it so many times, was his ability to read body language, or his ability to manipulate his own body language, right? That turns out to be like one of the most valuable tools you can have in situations like this. Yeah, if there's 3 of us, I don't think I'm putting it on any of our table, right? But if it's 6 of us and it's 6 purples, I'm the fucking purple people eater.
We've been waiting to use that line all night.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the system shifts into the energy conservation. So the priority moves from protecting the group. Now you have to really protect the individual organism. So trusting others starts to have energy depletion to it. Betrayal becomes efficient, but it comes at a psychological cost. Larry isn't necessarily being a villain. His nervous system's lighting the load so he can actually make it to the finish line.
This is the problem solver's strength in the shadow. In the shine, a problem solver removes obstacles for a team. In the shadow, people become the obstacles. Larry looks at the table and sees variables to be eliminated. The volume on empathy is 0. The volume on logic is at 10. And indeed, Larry has no problem becoming the purple people eater. And that brings us to Larry's most poignant confession. Larry admits that despite his charm, he viewed people as money to save his father. This is the wolf in sheep's clothing moment.
That's what episode 1 did, right?
Brings out the wolf.
Human emotions. Yeah, no, that's
Yes.
exactly what happened. And I think that pressure like really got to us all, right?
The game in general brings out the worst in people. I remember walking in and looking at old people and thinking, money.
we didn't think it.
Like,
You said it. Yeah,
You
wouldn't
said
say
that one out loud.
I did say it. I mean, no, I'm just being honest. When you walk into a game
So
like
there's
this, right?
1,000, there's 1,000, there's 1,000.
Well, no, let me preface this, all right? Before we paint me as the bad guy, okay? We are walking into a game show where there's only going to be one person that wins, okay? There's 456 people, right? I know I'm not the fucking best guy in here, but what I do know is that I think I will probably at least get a little farther than this. Either way, it doesn't fucking matter, all right? Mai was old and she made it like, she won. She fucking won, right? But I think that honestly, like when you're thinking about such large amounts of money, right? And you have so much on the line. Yeah, no. I'm just being honest, right? Like when there's so much on the line and you're working with such a large amount of money, dude, it's very hard to not look at people and not take on a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? Like it's very hard to not look at people. Okay, let's be honest.
That's all your values.
That's your perspective.
Well,
That's your perspective. No.
So each one of you
You know
would
who
have
loved
went
me
in
the
and played
most?
a 100% honest game.
We're the moms.
No.
I'm saying it's like the people love me the most because I wasn't threatening to them, and they're another number to me, and I'm another number to them. It's a social game. So like, no way. I never thought of one person like that. But did we make some very egregious strategic errors? Should we have listened to Corey, musicians, and myself too? I pushed up Roger. Yeah.
Well, one thing I will say
as a number, just another $1,000.
And you know what? But I will say too, I did say in an interview in Philly, I said that was probably my biggest fault too. I do think that. And that's why I was worried about the interview being aired, because I don't think it was an accurate perception of me. But also in the same way, every single person that's in there is special and they're literally in there for a reason. I feel like that was my biggest fault, was going in there and overlooking that. Because at the end of the day, all of the thoughts that I had, all of the people where I was like, oh, maybe I could get this guy out, right? It didn't amount to a fucking hill of beans because I got cooked.
That's the whole point, though. It felt like it wasn't even a version of you when you were giving that testament, because like we're in such a like stressed out anger, boiling point. And that's what they want. They do want us to, react versus respond. And it's really important to try to catch that. But at some of these moments, it was so hard too. I mean, I'm with you. I almost got in a fight with the security guard after we got cut because he wouldn't let me go sit down in the hotel lobby. I literally was like,
hot at the producers.
I was going to
fight.
like I was almost going to fight this guy. And I'm like, wow, that wasn't me. Like, what am I?
Yeah.
Read.
And it's great for TV. It's great for TV, but it's not
me,
But it just wasn't me. It wasn't who I am. And I don't think it was an accurate reflection of how I felt as a whole. I kind of was just saying shit because I was on 10.
Yeah, this is the key to the whole machine. Larry's RAS, reticular activating system, was programmed with one truth, and that's to save his dad. So that deep biological need to protect a loved one overrides everything else. It justifies what you could call the shadow behavior, and rightfully so.
It shows that our shine and shadow are often driven by our values. Larry is a believer. His core value includes his family. He went into the shadow of ruthlessness to protect his shine, his love for his father. We want to close with this. We asked the Purple Squad for one piece of advice for future players. So let's listen to what they said.
Just wrapping up everything. Season 3's obviously already casted, and there's going to be a lot more people entering the games again. What would you say would be your one piece of advice for entering such a crazy pressure cooker game such as Squid Games that you would give someone?
Oh my God.
Sure. And I think I reflected on this a little bit more. It's essentially what Larry just said, because he did say that in an interview in Philadelphia. And as I was watching him give the interview, everybody did get casted for a reason, like he said. And there are so many dope people that you just kind of throw away in your mind because, like I said earlier, you just don't have the time to get to know every single person that's there. But you've got to be kind of careful about who you're just completely writing off, because you get home and you Google them and you're like, oh,
yeah,
okay, shouldn't have said that. Or like to find out, someone was on American Ninja Warrior and competed in this and competed in that. It's like, we had some beasts that I didn't even know you were beasts. Like, I would have brought you all in way faster had I actually known this stuff about you all. And so you just have to remember that every single person, even if it's a massive cast like 456, everyone got casted for a reason. They are bringing something to the table, and you've just got to figure out what it is and hope you figure it out soon enough.
Yeah. I think my biggest life lesson and something I would tell somebody going in, don't spend the months leading up from finding out you're going in till you're there. Don't play scenarios out in your head, because that's what I did. I played out so many what ifs, and this game we're going to play, or what if we do this, or what if I meet people like this? But what happened was I went in and none of those scenarios I had played out in my head for all of those months happened. None of those. And so I think that's why when I came home, I had such a struggle for several weeks. I mean, I was in a deep, dark sadness, because, as I reflect, it's because it's none of those what ifs or none of those scenarios that played out in my head happened, and I didn't have the opportunity to play those out. So don't go in with any sort of expectations or what ifs. Just literally live in the moment, take it minute by minute, second by second, and just do your best, be the best that you can be, and go with the flow.
True. My one big takeaway from this too is that the value of the whole situation, the value of the situation as a whole actually doesn't necessarily lie in the money, all right? The people that I've met doing this, right, absolutely are worth every bit of $456 million, dude. Like I've met some amazing people. So honestly, no, listen.
4.5.
Honestly, I actually do. And honestly, I think that when I was in Philly and when we've done all this stuff, the connections that I've made with these are people that I never, ever would have ever just walked across on the street. I would have never met these people before. It was very validating to me as a person as well, too, because a lot of these people, I've never been around people of this caliber, right? This is like an echelon of people that I don't ever get to interact with, right? And I was able to interact with these people outside of this too. And it's like, wow, these people appreciate me being around. These people enjoy being friends with me. It helped me feel like money didn't necessarily matter as much. Everyone was fucking special, and the friendships I fucking made have been fucking sick.
Oh,
you're special. We've said that.
That's sweet.
Yeah. We said that ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say going into this show, if you put in this pressure cooker, I think the one thing you want to bring in is like a mindset of a different type of perspective, right? You got to take all that perspective going in. You are casted as 456 out of everyone in the world, out of the tens of thousands who did, those who took the chance on themselves to apply and then get to the next round and then get to the final 456. That's your chance to show who you really are, right? And get to have that exposure, but also is a test to yourself as well, right? Okay, cool. I am part of this show. Don't take everything so personal, like it's an attack on you or that person, the character. And it makes just like what Larry recognized in himself. That wasn't me, right? That wasn't me. But that will bring out certain things about people, about yourself. Actually, it showed a lot of self. Like it exposed a lot of yourself. That's not the person that I actually want to be. I think that was a lot of learning from that as well. And just be prepared to learn a lot about yourself and about others being on this particular show. That's how it'll carry you through a little bit more. This is a growing type experience. And that really having that mindset is like, you were chosen by 450. You're special in your own way. And it's just be willing to accept whatever is coming, that's going to come your way.
And I think we have to always keep in mind, obviously, the cameras are always rolling, the microphone is always recording and picking up whatever the hell.
And you'll be on TV forever. Whatever you say.
So you have to know that
forever.
Correct.
But that doesn't mean you, as life goes, whatever you say does have consequences, but you have to be prepared to deal with it.
Absolutely.
So you have to, if you're thinking it and you're going to say it, then it's out there. If you're thinking it's in you, that's for you, right? You have to accept the responsibility of what you put out there, because that's who you are. Right, not who you are, what you put out there, right? Your perception is reality, right? Mm-hmm. We will receive what you put out, right? Yeah. But that doesn't mean I always think there's redemption for people. It's like, just because you said that doesn't mean like this. You having your heartfelt, your story, you telling where you're going from, like why you were in that. I understood because you told me your story. He was coming from a place, you were coming from a place for your father. I understood that. So all that is A-okay, right? It's just like, that was like a very, like, it's such an interesting experience to go through. Right.
Yeah.
Well, it was very self-discovery.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing too. It was very like, because of the situation that I was dealing with, right? Like I've always been the guy that everybody can talk to. I've always been the guy that everybody can confide in, right? But because of the situation and the circumstances outside the show, it did kind of feel like I had to put on this mask of like, yeah, I like all these people around me, but at the end of the day, I'm here for one reason, right? That was me in the moment. I absolutely was, I hate to say it, a wolf in sheep's clothing. Like, I don't want to I'm not trying to make myself look bad, right? But it just kind of felt like if I'm going to make it to where I need to make it, unfortunately, some people will end up getting getting hurt on the way, right? Like,
I'm sorry, Larry, you are not a sheep. I am sorry. You are definitely not a little
dude. I'm not just walking around like day to day big wolf, right? Like,
No,
but what I mean, like,
no, I don't think you're a big wolf either, but I think you definitely have a presence. Like, it was clear, like, among the people that I met here, you're definitely the person with that presence, first and foremost, for whatever the reason are. And it's beyond anything stereotypical. I think it's really you have a presence. And I think you're also very aware of that as well and how that presence interacts. So what's the point here? Anybody going to this pressure cooker has to understand what their presence is.
True.
And anything's going to be exaggerated. And they can take shit out of context.
True.
So you just have to watch out for all that. You just have to be mindful of all that.
Yeah. I think that I've come to terms too with the fact that people like me authentically. I don't need to do anything outside of that to impress anybody, to make good TV. If I did do something like this again, it absolutely would benefit me to just go in 100% authentic, dude. Because at the end of the day, like,
people like you, Larry.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, guys. I like you guys too, okay?
It wasn't about strategy or running around red light, green light, or even lying. It was about presence.
Yeah, I mean, they talk about not playing scenarios in your head. Biologically, anxiety is living in the future. Presence is living in the now, in the moment. And the only way to really regulate your nervous system is to be exactly where your feet are. Mind, body, and soul. So they realized that the game was just a distraction from the real prize, which is that human connection.
Connection is the ultimate shine. In strengths language, when we stop looking at people as obstacles and start looking at them as partners, everything changes. Ryan, we've broken down the biology, the shine, the shadow, and the volume control across various scenarios. But before we sign off, I want to ask, why does this even matter? We're sitting here analyzing a game that we didn't even get to play. Why is this a worthwhile discussion for us to have, and why should people even listen?
Yeah, because we are always playing these games in real life. You know, it's maybe not in the dorm with ink packs on per se, but every day we are in high pressure meetings, difficult negotiations, or just navigating all the complexities of our lives. So this discussion does matter because awareness is the anchor to everything. If you don't know that your empathy volume is at a full 10, you'll burn out like Jane hypothetically would have in Mingle. And if you don't know your commander level is also at a 10, you might actually scare little people that don't resonate at that level of commander, and you'll isolate yourself as a dictator. So again, we might not have survived all of Squid Games, Bryant, but we did learn how to, adjust our volume knob, whether that was live in the moment with true awareness or it was reflecting and showing growth from that experience. We learned that we could choose our response rather than just reacting from the threat. And that's what it's all about.
That's the takeaway. We learned that joining forces is the only way to survive. We need the peacemaker to balance the commander. In a way, they were counter shadows and have counter strengths. We need the analyst to balance the empathizer to make sure, okay, we care about people, but we also care about finding the ways to win. So we didn't win the $4.56 million, but in the timeline that we had lived, we kept our hardware running, and we found our shine, and we stayed together as a team, a cohesive team, a loyal team, a strong team, a team that was set up for success. And that's what matters most, is that you recognize how you're set up for success.
All right. Purple for life.
Right.
All right. Well, that wraps up all of the games. And I thank you guys so much for your perspective on everything. Honestly, I even learned a little bit more about you guys, just some of the storytelling you guys were giving. Really appreciate that. I look forward to continuing our connections outside of here. And it was awesome to get everyone together again.
So take care, Squid Strikes fam. We'll see you next week. Happy New Year.